The Great Hall of Valanthos Prime was the largest structure ever built by thinking beings. It floated in the darkness between three dying stars, a station so massive that small moons could have fit inside its docking bays. For 11,000 years, the Galactic Concord had ruled from this place. Every species that discovered faster-than-light travel eventually came here. They came as seekers, as hopefuls, as dreamers who believed they might find a place among the stars. They always left as servants. Admiral Catherine Cole had not slept in 3 days. She stood at the center of the human delegation. Her silver hair pulled back tight, her uniform perfect despite weeks of meetings that had led nowhere. Beside her stood Commander Daniel Shaw, a quiet man with sad eyes who had seen too many battles. Behind them waited 12 diplomats, scientists, and military advisors, who had spent their entire careers preparing for this moment. First contact had happened 4 years ago. A Concord survey ship had stumbled upon a human colony in the outer reaches of explored space. The aliens had been surprised. Humanity had been terrified and then excited. After centuries of wondering if they were alone in the universe, they finally had an answer. The Concord had invited them to Valanthos Prime to discuss membership. Humanity had accepted with joy. That joy had died slowly over 3 weeks of negotiations. The chamber was filled with representatives from 47 species. The Velith were the ruling race. Tall insectoid creatures that looked like praying mantises dressed in flowing robes of gold and silver. Their bodies clicked and hummed as they moved, their eyes dark and multifaceted. Showed no emotion that humans could read. The Marathi floated in tanks of thick liquid, their bodies like living clouds of blue and purple gel. The Sendith stood, rigid in their crystalline armor, warriors from a world of ice and stone. Dozens of other species filled the observation galleries, so watching the small human delegation with curiosity, amusement, or contempt. High Arbiter, Keth Valen. The supreme leader of the Concord raised one long limb for silence. The chamber fell quiet. The matter of human membership has been decided, Keth Valen announced. His voice was translated through devices that made it sound flat and cold. Concord welcomes humanity as a provisional member, subject to the following terms. Catherine felt her stomach tighten. They had been promised full membership. They had been promised equality, First Keth Valen continued. Humanity will surrender its 3 colony worlds in the Kepler sectors as tribute to the Concord. These worlds will be administered by Velith governors. Daniel made a small sound beside her. 3 colony worlds. 2 million people. Generations of work, of hope, of sacrifice. Second, humanity will limit its military fleet to defensive vessels only. All warships will be decommissioned. Humanity will not develop weapons technology beyond level 3 restrictions. Their entire fleet, every ship they had built to protect themselves. Third, humanity will submit to genetic cataloging and population oversight. Birth rates will be managed according to Concord standards. Human expansion beyond approved systems will require Concord permission. Catherine's hands began to shake. He hid them behind her back. These are the terms, Keth Valen said. They are not subject to negotiation. The Concord does not bargain with primitive species. The word echoed through the chamber. Primitive. Catherine thought about what humanity had achieved. They had cured diseases that had killed billions. They'd built machines that could think and dream. They'd crossed the void between stars. They had done all of this alone, without help, without guidance, while these ancient species sat in their comfortable stations and looked down on younger races. And they were primitive. She looked at Daniel. He met her eyes. In that moment, without words, they understood each other perfectly. Catherine turned back to face the assembly. No, she said. The single word fell into the silence like a stone into still water. Ripples of confusion spread through the chamber.
Ow.
Translators clicked and hummed as they tried to make sense of the response.
Ow.
I do not understand, Keth Valen said. Please clarify your statement. No, Catherine repeated. We reject these terms. All of them. We reject provisional membership. We reject the tribute, the fleet restrictions, the population oversight. We reject the Galactic Concord entirely. Murmurs rose from the assembled species. Some sounded angry. Some sounded shocked. A few, from the back of the chamber, where the conquered races sat, sounded almost hopeful. "This is not possible," Kethvalen said. "No species has ever refused membership." "You do not understand what you are saying." "I understand perfectly," Catherine said. She began gathering her data tablets, handing them to her aides. "We came here in good faith, believed we would be treated as equals. Instead, you have offered us slavery with polite words wrapped around it." She looked across the chamber, meeting the eyes of every species she could see. "Humanity will not be your servants. We will not surrender our worlds. We will not give up our ships. We will not let you count our children like cattle." "You cannot survive alone," Kethvalen said. His voice carried a new tone now, something that might have been anger or might have been fear. "The galaxy is dangerous. Without the Concord's protection, you will be destroyed." "Maybe," Catherine admitted, "but we would rather die free than live on our knees." She walked toward the exit. Her delegation followed. 47 species watched in stunned silence as the humans left. At the threshold, Catherine paused and looked back one final time. "You called us primitive," she said. "You may be right. We are young, we are new to this galaxy, we have much to learn. But I will tell you something about primitive species. High Arbiter. We do not break easily, we do not surrender, and we have very, very long memories." The doors sealed behind her. In the corridor outside, Daniel walked beside her in silence for a long moment. "You know what this means?" he finally said. "It will come for us. They've done it before. 2 other species that refused." "I know," Catherine said. "We are not ready for a war with the entire galaxy." "I know that too." Daniel nodded slowly. "Then we had better get ready." They walked on, leaving behind the great hall where the future of the galaxy was decided by ancient powers. Behind them, the Concord began to realize that something had changed. For the first time in 11,000 years, someone had said no. In the shadows of the chamber, a Sendith warrior watched the doors where the humans had disappeared. She had been conquered herself long ago. Her people had been broken and remade into servants of the Concord. She had forgotten what hope felt like, but watching the human admiral walk away, she remembered, and she was not the only one. 3 years passed after humanity walked away from Valanthos Prime. The Concord expected them to return within months. When food ran short, when medicine became scarce, when the loneliness of isolation became too heavy to bear, the humans would come crawling back. They would beg for forgiveness. They would accept whatever terms the Concord offered, grateful for any scrap thrown their way. That was how it had always worked. That was how it would always work, except it did not. General Marcus Hayes stood in the command center buried deep beneath the mountains of North America. Screens covered every wall, showing maps of human space, supply routes, fleet movements, and intelligence reports from 100 different sources. He had not seen sunlight in 6 months, but he did not care. There was too much work to do. "Report," he said to Dr. Patricia Long, his chief analyst. She was a small woman with dark hair and eyes that missed nothing. "The Concord is confused," Patricia said. She pulled up a series of intercepted communications on the main screen. "They cut off our access to galactic trade networks on day 1. They expected our economy to collapse within weeks. And instead, we adapted. The colony ships that were heading for the Kepler worlds changed course. We have established 17 new settlements in unclaimed systems the Concord considered worthless." Marcus allowed himself a small smile. The Concord had been playing the same game for 11,000 years. They had forgotten that new players might know different rules. "What about the technology situation?" Patricia's eyes lit up. This was her favorite topic. "Without access to galactic databases, our scientists had to develop everything from scratch. At first, this seemed like a disaster, but it turned out to be a gift." She brought up technical diagrams on the screen. "This is the Harmon Drive, developed by Dr. Samuel Grant and his team. It allows ships to travel 3 times faster than anything in the Concord fleet. The Concord has been using the same engine technology for 6,000 years. They stopped innovating because they thought they had reached perfection." "They were wrong," Marcus said. "Very wrong." "And this," Patricia continued, bringing up another diagram, "is the Aegis Shield. One of our weapons researchers discovered it by accident during testing. It can absorb energy attacks that would destroy Concord vessels instantly. Their weapons are designed to fight each other. They've never faced anything like this. Marcus studied the diagrams carefully. 3 years ago, humanity had been terrified. They had faced the might of a galaxy-spanning empire with nothing but hope and stubbornness. Now they had tools. Now they had a chance. "There is one more thing," Patricia said. Her voice became quieter. "Project Lazarus." Marcus nodded slowly. He knew about Lazarus. Only a handful of people in all of human space knew about Lazarus. How is the progress? Ahead of schedule? The first successful restoration was completed 2 months ago. The subject retained full memories, full personality, full cognitive function. They did not even realize they had died until we told them. Humanity had conquered death. It had started as a medical project, an attempt to preserve brain patterns and restore them to cloned bodies. The original goal had been to help accident victims and the terminally ill. But as the war clouds gathered, the project had taken on new meaning. Soldiers who could not truly die. Warriors who would rise again after every battle. An army that grew stronger with each defeat. The Concord had no idea what was coming. A communications officer approached Marcus with a sealed message. "Concord emissaries have arrived. They are requesting a meeting with Admiral Cole." Marcus and Patricia exchanged glances. "They want to negotiate again?" Patricia said. "They are beginning to realize that we are not going to collapse on our own." "Let them talk," Marcus said. "It will buy us more time." Admiral Catherine Cole received the Concord. Delegation in a bare conference room on Mars. She had chosen the location deliberately. No decorations, no comforts, no hospitality. Just metal walls and a single table. The Valith emissary was named Zethkal. He was younger than Kethvalen, perhaps more flexible. But his eyes still held the same contempt Catherine had seen 3 years ago. "The Concord is prepared to offer revised terms," Zethkal said. "We recognize that our initial proposal may have been ... harsh. Catherine repeated. The word hung in the air. "We are willing to reduce the tribute. 1 colony world instead of 3. We are willing to allow a larger defensive fleet. We are willing to reconsider the population oversight. And in exchange, you return to the negotiation table. You acknowledge the Concord's authority. You take your proper place in the galactic order." Catherine was silent for a long moment. She thought about the millions of humans who had worked so hard over the past 3 years. She thought about the scientists who had created miracles. She thought about the soldiers who were willing to die for something greater than themselves. "No," she said. Zethkal's mandibles clicked in frustration. "You do not understand your position. You are alone. You are surrounded. You cannot possibly believe you can stand against the combined might of 47 species." "I remember what your High Arbiter said to me 3 years ago," Catherine replied. "He said the Concord does not negotiate with primitive species. Those words have stayed with me every day since. That was a mistake in diplomacy. We are willing to treat you differently now. You are willing to treat us differently because you are afraid," Catherine said. "You thought we would break. We did not. You thought we would beg. We will not. And now you are worried about what we might do next." She stood up from the table. "Go back to your masters, Zethkal. Tell them that humanity's answer remains the same. We will not join. We will not submit. We will not ask permission to exist." "Then you leave us no choice," Zethkal said. His voice was cold now, all pretense of diplomacy gone. "The Concord will authorize military action. You will be destroyed." Catherine smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "You are welcome to try." 1 week later, the Concord formally declared humanity a rogue species. The largest war fleet in galactic history began to assemble. 12,000 ships from 9 member species. Armed with weapons that had enforced galactic law for millennia, they believed it would be. Over in weeks, they did not understand that humans had been fighting wars since before they learned to write. They did not understand that humans grew stronger under pressure, that they became more creative when cornered, that they never, ever gave up. The Concord was about to learn a lesson that would shake the foundations of their ancient empire. Humanity was coming, and humanity was ready. The Concord war fleet was the most powerful force ever assembled in the history of the galaxy. 12,000 ships. Hung in the darkness of space like a cloud of metal and fire, battleships the size of small cities, cruisers bristling with weapons that could crack planets, carriers launching swarms of attack craft that blotted out the stars. 9 species had contributed their finest vessels, their best commanders, their deadliest technology. Admiral Vethkurl of the Valith commanded from the flagship, the Eternal Mandate. It was the largest warship ever built, a monument to 11,000 years of Concord supremacy. Vethkurl had crushed 17 species in his long career. He had never known defeat. He expected this campaign to last 3 weeks at most. The first target was Proxima Colony, a mining settlement on a rocky world orbiting a dim red star. 400,000 humans lived there, digging precious metals from the ground and dreaming of the day their children might see green fields and blue skies. Standard suppression protocol, Vethkurl ordered. His voice echoed through the command deck. Destroy their orbital defenses, then begin ground operations. I want this finished before the next sleep cycle. The Fleet Advanced Dock Commander Luke Harrison watched them come. He stood on the bridge of his frigate, the Defiant. He was 34 years old, son of asteroid miners who had never owned anything more valuable than their tools and their pride. Now he commanded the defense of an entire world. He had 47 ships. 47 ships against 12,000. The numbers were impossible. The odds were laughable. Any rational person would have surrendered immediately, begged for mercy, hoped for a quick death. But Luke Harrison was human, and humans did not surrender. All ships, engage Harmon drives on my mark, he said. His voice was calm, almost relaxed. Remember your training. Remember why we fight? They think we are weak because we are few. Let us teach them otherwise. He paused for a moment, looking at the wall of enemy ships filling his view screen. Mark. The Concorde had never seen anything move that fast. Human vessels vanished and reappeared like ghosts. One moment they were 1,000 kilometers away. The next moment they were inside the Concorde formation, weapons blazing. Before the Concorde gunners could react, the humans were gone again, only to appear from a completely different direction. The Aegis shields absorbed fire that should have destroyed them instantly. Concorde weapons, designed to overwhelm the defenses of other Concorde ships, simply melted against human energy barriers. But it was not the technology that shocked the Concorde commanders. It was the way the humans fought. Captain Maria Santos commanded the destroyer Relentless. She was 41 years old, a former rescue pilot who had spent 20 years pulling people from burning ships and crumbling stations. She knew how to save lives. Now she was learning how to take them. Her ship dove straight through the center of a Concorde battle group. Enemy fire filled the space around her. Her shields flickered and sparked. Target their command ship, she ordered. Everything we have. The Relentless unleashed its weapons. The Concorde command ship exploded in a bloom of orange and white. Without coordination, the battle group fell into confusion. Maria pulled her ship away, already searching for the next target. Then she saw it. A Concorde destroyer had broken away from the main fleet. It was not heading for any military target. It was heading for a civilian transport. An evacuation shuttle carrying 1,200 people away from the planet below. 1,200 children. 1,200 elderly. 1,200 humans who had no weapons, no shields, no way to fight back. Maria did not hesitate. All power to engines, she said. Intercept course. Her first officer looked at her with wide eyes. Captain, if we put ourselves between that destroyer and the shuttle, we will not survive. I know. The Relentless accelerated. It was not fast enough to destroy the enemy ship in time, but it was fast enough to reach the space between the destroyer and the shuttle. The Concorde. Vessel fired. Maria Santos closed her eyes. The Relentless took the blast meant for 1,200 innocent people. The ship broke apart in a flash of light and debris. The shuttle escaped. Luke Harrison saw it happen on his tactical display. He felt something cold and hard settle in his chest, but he pushed it down. There would be time to grieve later. Right now, there was a battle to win. Squadron 7, he said, his voice steady. Target their fuel transports. Squadron 3 hit their communication relays. Everyone else, make them pay for every meter of space they take. The battle lasted 9 hours. Human pilots flew like nothing the Concorde had ever seen. They took risks that seemed suicidal. They sacrificed themselves without hesitation to protect their comrades. They used their own damaged vessels as weapons, ramming them into Concorde ships at full speed. And when human ships were destroyed, the pilots who survived kept fighting. They launched themselves in escape pods, hacking into enemy systems, sabotaging vessels from the inside, doing anything they could to slow the Concorde advance. Vethkarel watched in growing horror as his magnificent fleet, was torn apart by 47 ships. How is this possible? He demanded. We outnumber them 200 to 1. How are they still fighting? None of his officers had an answer. When the battle finally ended, the Concorde had lost 600 ships. Humanity had lost 19. Every civilian on Proxima Colony had been evacuated. 400,000 people, rescued from beneath the guns of the largest fleet in galactic history. Vethkarel ordered a retreat. He needed to reassess. He needed to understand what had happened. He needed to figure out how his certain victory had turned into a disaster. The human ships did not pursue. They simply held their positions. Watching the Concorde fleet withdraw, on the bridge of the Defiant, Luke Harrison finally allowed himself to sit down. His hands were shaking. His eyes were wet. He thought about Maria Santos and the relentless. He thought about all the ships that would never fly again. All the friends he would never see again. But he also thought about the shuttle full of children that was now safe. He thought about the message humanity had sent today. Send a transmission to Fleet Command, he said. Tell them Proxima is secure. Tell them we won. Communications officer hesitated. Sir, what about our losses? The Relentless, the Aurora, that they are not losses, Luke said quietly. They are heroes, and their sacrifice means something. Every ship that fell, every life that was given, saved someone else. That is what we fight for. That is who we are. He looked out at the stars, at the retreating Concorde fleet, at the small blue dot of Proxima Colony below. The galaxy is watching now, he said. They have seen what happens when you come for our people. They have seen what we are willing to do. He smiled. Though it hurt, and this is only the beginning. The news of Proxima spread across the galaxy like wildfire. In the polished halls of Valanthos Prime, the Concorde Ruling Council met in emergency session. High Arbiter Kethvalen listened as Admiral Vethkarel explained in painful detail how 47 human ships had humiliated a fleet of 12,000. This is impossible, the Marathi delegate said, their gelatinous body rippling with agitation. The calculations do not permit this outcome. We outnumbered them hundreds to 1. The calculations assumed they would fight like us, Kethvalen replied. His voice was cold, but those who knew him could hear the fear beneath it. They do not. In the conquered territories of the Concorde, other species heard the news and felt something they had not felt in centuries. Hope, Ambassador. Gregory Palmer was not a soldier. He was a thin, gray-bearded man with a gentle voice and patient eyes. He had spent his entire life listening to people, understanding them, finding the things they needed but could not say out loud. Now he was the most important weapon humanity had, for 3 years. While the Concorde focused on military threats, Gregory had been traveling in secret. He visited worlds the Concorde had conquered. He spoke with leaders in hiding, resistance fighters in shadows, ordinary people who had learned to keep their true feelings locked away. He found everywhere he went. The same thing, resentment. The Sendith had been a proud warrior culture before the Concorde broke them. Their weapons had been taken, their traditions forbidden, their children taught that submission was virtue. But in secret meeting places, in whispered conversations, the old ways survived. Gregory met with a Sendith commander named Vethera. She was old by her species standards, her crystalline body scarred from ancient battles. She listened as Gregory explained what humanity was offering. We do not want to rule the galaxy, Gregory said. We just want to live in it, free, and we would like you to be free too. The Concord will destroy you, Vethera replied. They will destroy all of us. They have done it before, maybe Gregory admitted. But tell me something. When you close your eyes at night, what do you see? Do you see your grandchildren growing up as servants? Do you see your people forgetting who they once were? Vethera was silent for a long moment. I see the old days, she finally said. I see my people standing tall. I see the songs we used to sing before the Concord forbade our music. Then help us, Gregory said. Help us build something different. Help us create a galaxy where your grandchildren can sing those songs again. Vethera looked at him with ancient eyes. If we fail, we will be exterminated. Yes, if we do nothing. We will fade away slowly, generation by generation, until there is nothing left of who we were. Also, yes. Vethera made a sound that might have been a laugh. Then I suppose we have nothing to lose. Similar conversations happened on dozens of worlds. The Marathi, whose true leaders had been exiled to frozen moons, while puppet governments obeyed Concord commands. The Talic, a small species that had watched their sister race exterminated for the crime of asking for better trade terms. A species whose names humanity could barely pronounce, whose histories had been erased from official records. All of them remembered what they had been before the Concord came. All of them wanted that back. The uprising began on 17 worlds simultaneously. Sendith warriors rose from hiding, wielding weapons they had secretly forged over generations. Marathi civilians surrounded occupation forces and simply refused to move, their gelatinous bodies absorbing stun blasts without harm, their patience outlasting every threat. The Talic, small and seemingly harmless, revealed that they had spent centuries developing poisons specifically designed to affect Valith biology. The Concord's attention splintered. They could not fight humanity and suppress a dozen rebellions at the same time. And then humanity played its final card, on a barren moon called Sanctuary. General Marcus Hayes stood before 10,000 soldiers. They wore human uniforms. They carried human weapons. They moved with human confidence. But 3 months ago, every single one of them had been dead. Captain Maria Santos stood in the front row. She remembered dying. She remembered the relentless breaking apart around her, the flash of light, the moment of peace. She remembered waking up in a medical bay, confused. Her body new, but her mind the same. Project Lazarus, Marcus said, his voice carrying across the assembled ranks, is now active. Humanity had conquered death. The technology was complex brain patterns preserved at the moment of death, transferred to cloned bodies, memories and personality intact. But the result was simple. Human soldiers could not be killed. Not permanently. They could be stopped, temporarily. They could be slowed down. But they would always come back. You've all died for humanity once, Marcus continued. Some of you will die again today, and again tomorrow, and as many times as it takes. Because we are not fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for everyone who has ever been told they were not good enough. Not strong enough, not worthy of freedom. He looked at Maria Santos. At the determination in her eyes, the Concord believes death is the ultimate weapon. They believe they can break us by killing enough of us. They are about to learn how wrong they are. The Lazarus soldiers deployed across the galaxy. They fought alongside Sendith warriors on ice worlds. They protected Marathi civilians as they reclaimed their true governments. They stood with the Talic as they avenged their murdered sister species, and when they fell, they rose again. Vethkoral faced them for the first time at the Battle of Meridian Station. He watched a human soldier take a direct hit from a plasma cannon. Watched the body fall, watched the battle continue. 3 hours later, he saw the same soldier fighting again on a different part of the battlefield. "What are you?" he demanded in a transmission to the Human Forces commander. Luke Harrison answered him. "We are human. We do not give up. We do not surrender. And we do not die." Not really. Not anymore, the Concord fleet broke. Not because they were outfought, though they were, but because they could not understand what they were facing. Their entire military philosophy was built on the assumption that death was final. Take enough casualties, and any species would submit. But humanity absorbed casualties like a sponge absorbing water. Every soldier who fell became a veteran who had already faced the worst thing that could happen. They had already died. There was nothing left to fear. The Eternal Mandate, flagship of the Concorde fleet, became surrounded. Its shields failed under concentrated fire from human and allied vessels. Veth Koral, who had never known defeat, watched his command deck burn around him. "This is not possible," he said. "You were supposed to be primitive. You were supposed to be weak." Catherine Cole's voice came through his speakers. "We were supposed to be many things," she said. "We were supposed to surrender. We were supposed to beg for mercy. We were supposed to accept our place at the bottom of your ladder." The Eternal Mandate shuddered as another section lost power. But we chose differently. We chose to stand. And we found others who wanted to stand with us. "The galaxy you built is falling, Admiral, and something better is rising in its place." The Eternal Mandate's engines failed, the flagship of the Galactic Concorde, symbol of 11,000 years of dominance, drifted dark and silent through the void. The war was not over. Not yet. But the outcome was no longer in doubt. Humanity and the allies they had found would not stop until every chain was broken. The war lasted 18 months. When it ended, the Galactic Concorde no longer existed. The great station of Volanthos Prime still floated between its dying stars. But the halls where 47 species had once gathered to rule the galaxy were empty now. The flags had been taken down. The thrones had been removed. The old order was dead. Something new had taken its place. Admiral Catherine Cole stood at the center of a chamber, unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. It was called the Forum, and humanity had built it in neutral space, far from any world that might claim ownership. The room was circular, with no head table, no elevated platforms, no seats of honor. Every position was equal. Every voice would carry the same weight. Representatives from 93 species filled the chamber. Some had been members of the old Concorde, the Marathi. Restored to their true leadership, their puppet governments dissolved. The Sendith, their weapons returned, their songs legal again. Even some Valith, the younger generation who had seen the corruption of their elders and chosen a different path. Others had been conquered peoples. Species the Concorde had crushed and nearly forgotten. They came blinking into the light of freedom, uncertain at first, then growing stronger with each passing day. Still others were new to the galactic stage. Races that had been hiding from Concorde notice, waiting for the day when it might be safe to reveal themselves. They emerged now, cautious but hopeful, ready to take their place among the stars. Catherine looked across this assembly. She was older now. Her hair was entirely white. Her body carried the aches of too many battles, too many sleepless nights, too many decisions that had cost lives. But her eyes were clear and her voice was strong. "We are not here to create a new empire," she said. The translation systems carried her words to every corner of the chamber, rendered into 100 different languages. "We are not here to establish a new hierarchy or crown new rulers. We tried that approach for 11,000 years. We all know how it ended." Daniel Shaw stood beside her, gray-haired now, leaning on a cane from wounds he had taken at the Battle of Meridian Station. He had refused the Lazarus treatment, saying death was natural and should come when it came. Catherine understood. Some people needed to know that their time was limited. It gave weight to their choices. "We are here," Catherine continued, "because every thinking being in this galaxy deserves the right to choose their own path. Not the path some ancient council decided for them. Not the path that benefits powerful species at the expense of weaker ones. Their own path, chosen freely." She activated a display that filled the center of the chamber with glowing texts. "This document establishes the Free Worlds Coalition. Let me tell you what it says, and more importantly, what it does not say." She moved through the chamber as she spoke, making eye contact with representatives from every species. "It says that membership is voluntary. Any species can join, and any species can leave. We do not hold people prisoner here. It says that every member maintains full sovereignty over their own worlds, their own people, their own future. We do not tell you how to live. We do not count your children. We do not take your colonies as tribute. It says that we share technology freely. If humanity discovers something that could help your people, you receive it without conditions. If you discover something that could help ours, we trust you to share it. She paused in front of the Valith delegation. The young diplomat who led them met her eyes without flinching. It says that we defend each other by choice, not by obligation. If your world is threatened, we will come to help, not because we command you to fight for us first, but because that is what friends do. The young Valith raised a trembling claw. Why? He asked. After everything my species did to you, after the war we started, the people we killed, why would you offer mercy? Why would you help us? Catherine considered the question for a long moment. Because revenge is easy, she said finally. Building something better is hard. We could spend the next 1,000 years making the Valith suffer for what the old Concord did. And at the end of those 1,000 years, we would be exactly what you were, an empire built on resentment and control. She shook her head. That is not who we want to be. That is not the future we fought for. She returned to the center of the chamber. One more thing. This coalition makes a promise to the galaxy. Any species, anywhere, that finds itself threatened or oppressed, any people who are told they are primitive or insignificant or unworthy may call upon us for aid. Her voice grew stronger. We will come. We will always come. General Marcus Hayes watched from the observation gallery. Beside him stood Captain Maria Santos, alive for the 3rd time, her body young again, but her eyes ancient with experience. She had died twice more since Proxima, and twice more she had returned. Do you think this will work? Maria asked quietly. I think it has to, Marcus replied. We cannot go back to what we were. None of us can. So we have to find a way forward. The vote was called. 93 species. 93 voices. The result was unanimous. The Free Worlds Coalition was born. In the weeks and months that followed, the galaxy began to change. Trade routes opened between species that had never spoken before. Scientists from a dozen worlds collaborated on problems that had seemed impossible. Artists created works that blended traditions separated by thousands of light years. There were difficulties. Old hatreds did not disappear overnight. Some species struggled to trust former enemies. Some individuals committed terrible acts in the name of revenge. The coalition had to work constantly to prevent small conflicts from growing into large ones, but they kept working, because the alternative was unthinkable. Years later, a historian came to interview Vethera, the Sendith commander who had been among the first to ally with humanity. She was very old now, her crystalline body faded and worn, but her mind was still sharp. What was it about the humans that made you trust them? The historian asked. They were so young, so inexperienced. By any logical measure, they should have been destroyed. Vethera made a sound that might have been a laugh. Logic had nothing to do with it, she said. The Concord had logic. They had numbers, resources, 11,000 years of experience. They had every advantage that could be measured. She looked out the window at a sky filled with free stars. But the humans had something else. Something we had forgotten, all of us, in our long years of submission. What was that? They believed they could win. Against all evidence, against all reason, against the weight of history. They simply believed. And somehow, impossibly, that belief became real. She turned back to the historian with ancient eyes. They reminded us how to hope, she said. And hope, it turns out, is the most powerful force in the universe. The historian recorded her words and left. Vethera remained at the window for a long time. Watching the ships of 100 species crossing the darkness between worlds, somewhere out there, humans were still exploring, still pushing boundaries, still refusing to accept that anything was impossible. They had walked away from a negotiation table once, and the universe had shaken. Now they were helping to build something that might last forever. And somewhere, in the hearts of every being who had ever felt small or weak or afraid, a voice whispered that they too could stand tall, The galaxy was free, and it was only the beginning.